Knowing how to read music can open up a whole world of piano music to you. Reading notes actually isn't that difficult. Now, it doesn't mean it won't be challenging, but it's not as hard as you think. And I'm going to prove it to you. You're going to learn how to read music and begin your first sheet music piano song in one weekend. Welcome back to Piano Roadmap, where I provide a clear path to piano mastery. I'm Susan, and if you're feeling lost learning piano on your own, you're in the right place. You've probably looked at sheet music before and noticed lots of black dots on the page. Every single one of those dots is a note head, and each represents one pitch on the piano. The note heads give us a general idea of what the sequence of notes will sound like. Roughly speaking, low notes on the page equal low notes on the piano, which is to the left, and high on the page, high on the piano, or to the right. When we see this, we know it'll start low, get higher, then return to where it started, and it might sound something like this. We need to know what to call each key on the piano, and for now, we're just going to look at the white keys. They're named with the letters of the alphabet. The lowest note on the piano is A. The next note up is B. Then C, D, E, F, and G. Now, once we pass G, it loops back to A and keeps repeating like this until we get all the way up to the top, which ends at C. Thankfully, we have the black keys to act as landmarks for us. They're arranged in groups of 2 and 3. When you look at the groups of 3 black keys, notice the 4 white keys surrounding these 3 black keys. These are always going to be F, G, A, and B. So F, G, A, B right here, F, G, A, B here by the other group of 3 black keys, F, G, A, B, and so on. And the 3 white keys surrounded by the group of 2 black keys are C, D, and E. So C, D, E, C, D, E, C, D, E. You can just do something really simple, like start at the lowest C, which is to the left of the group of 2 black keys, and then just do, C, D, E, or C, D, E, C, D, E. It doesn't matter what fingers you use. And just get used to moving up and down the piano on C, D, or E, and then do the same thing with F, G, A, B, F, G, A, B. Maybe even try to say the letter names backwards, B, A, G, F, B, A, G, F. And that's a great little intro to the white key note names. Part of your assignment for today will be memorizing where the white keys are on the piano, because the faster you are at naming the white key notes, the better at note reading you'll be. But more on that later. Let's move back to note heads. Note heads are placed on a staff of 5 lines and 4 spaces. So they sit on a line or a space. When notes go from a line to the very next space, they're neighbor notes on the piano, which is just a step away from each other. It's the same going from a space to a line note. This space line pattern means we're just stepping up or down the piano keys. So if you know that this is a C, you can figure out the other notes because they follow the line space pattern. And notes that are on the same line or same space are repeated notes. Note heads are written on the grand staff, which is made up of 2 staves, 2 cymbals, and a brace. The lower staff usually contains notes for the left hand and the top for the right. Each staff has a special symbol that tells us how to decipher the note names. So this is the treble clef, and the circling line surrounds the G line, which is line 2. A note head on this line represents a G as long as we see the treble clef symbol. But we have to get even more specific. There are 7 different Gs on the piano, and this note head doesn't represent them all. It's just this one G towards the middle of the piano, 4th from the lowest G. So this G on line 2 is often called treble G. The symbol in the lower staff is called the bass clef. The two dots surround the F line, so a note on this line is F. Specifically, it's the third F from the bottom and is often called bass F. So here's bass F, and here's treble G. In between, there's middle C. Middle C can be written on either staff. It's on the top in the bass clef and on the bottom in the treble clef, but they both represent this one key on the piano, middle C. It's easy to recognize because it has its own tiny line going through it. So starting at F, we can step up the piano. So F, G, A, B, stop at middle C, and then we can keep going. D, E, F, and then treble G. And we can also start at G and go down. F, E, D, C, middle C, and B, A, G, F, or bass F. You can figure out any note name by counting the lines and spaces and thinking of steps on the piano like we just did, but it's much faster to begin to memorize each note on the piano and on the page for immediate recall, just like your times tables, like how you immediately know 5 times 5 is 25. The other important component to reading music is note values and rhythm. Note heads by themselves don't tell us anything about how long to hold them. A note head with a stem is a quarter note held for one count or one beat. A half note is a note head that's not filled in but does have a stem and it gets 2 beats. A dotted half note gets 3 and a whole note is held for 4 full counts. 99% of music uses what's called a time signature. You'll see at the very beginning of a piece, and the top number tells you how many beats are in each measure. A measure is separated by bar lines. So here in this line, we have 4 measures. A popular time signature is 4/4 time. The bottom number tells us that the quarter note gets 1 count. Let's practice a couple of rhythms together. So here are 4 quarter notes in 4/4 time. Don't worry about the pitch right now. Just pick any key on the piano and play and count the rhythms that you see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Finally, finger numbers. Thumbs are always 1, then 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are often written above or below the notes to tell you which finger to use for that specific note. So finger 1 is written above middle C. So I'm going to put finger 1 here. And then the rest of my fingers just comfortably go to each next note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then left hand, finger 1. It might take you just a minute to figure out that that's a G. It's just one step above bass F. Put 1 on G, and then the rest of the fingers lie comfortably. Playing through this, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. For your assignment as we end day 1, practice the free PDF worksheet. There's to-do suggestions and exercises to practice, and it'll get you started reading music and counting note values. From the very beginning, try to begin to memorize the white key note names on the piano and a few notes on the grand staff. So I'd start with the 3 that we learned today: bass F, middle C, and treble G. For these note names, when I show you, make sure that you're knowing where middle C is on your piano. So if the lowest C is here, count up. So it's 1, C1, C2, C3, C4. This is middle C. So the first note name is here, treble G, and then middle C, bass F, A, E, F in the treble clef, so it's above middle C, then A, C, and E. And what does that spell? Face, F-A-C-E. And then you had to write in the counts. The first one I did for you, but let's just count and play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then number 2, you had to write in, so let's double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice on the long notes, as I was holding and counting, I didn't change the speed of my counting at all. For example, sometimes people get tempted on long notes, like the dotted half note, to just kind of get the counts over with. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But this is not a steady beat and takes away the point of actually having a long note. Because if I'm just counting in my head fast, 1, 2, 3, you don't feel that it's a long note. So make sure to keep the steady pulse as you count. Then practice each exercise slowly with a steady pulse. I'm going to count while I play these and we'll just play them through, but you need to practice this. It will help you get used to keeping that steady tempo, get used to reading the notes and interpreting what you read to the piano. So here's number 1, just for the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. And number 2, we start with finger 1 on G. And you can see the first measure, we're just stepping down. Once you can see that, you don't need to read every single note. You know you start here, you know you step down until you get to measure 2 on that C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. And then number 3 is 2 lines long. The first line is for the right hand, the second is for the left, and you might recognize this tune. So we start with finger 3 on E, and then the left hand, when that comes in, it will be finger 3 on E as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, off. Okay, this is day 2 in our crash course. Yesterday, we learned how to read notes on the grand staff, basic note values, time signatures, and finger numbers. Today, we'll learn a few odds and ends and then get right into learning your first piece of sheet music. Let's start with additional note values. Sometimes we need to know when to not play a note, and these are called rests. A quarter rest means to not play anything for one count. There's also the half rest and whole rest. Let's play and count a few rhythms. Pick any note on the piano. Notice the rests, the quarter rests. On the quarter rests, if you want to, you can fill up the empty space with a hand turnover or a snap or something like that, if that helps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This time we'll try snapping on the rest. So a quarter rest will get 1 snap, half rest will get 2 snaps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. Additionally, there's eighth notes, which gets a half of a beat, so 2 eighth notes fit perfectly into 1 quarter note. You'll often see them grouped together in 2s or 4s with a beam, but they can be written as a single eighth note as well. In that case, it gets a little flag. To count these, we subdivide the beat by adding an and. So 4 eighth notes would be 1 and 2 and. When we subdivide, when we have eighth notes, the count-in should subdivide as well. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 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 And the next one will go just a little slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and off. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and off. So when we're in 3/4 time, that means we'll only count up to 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 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 1 and 2 and 3 and off. Now, counting and doing these rhythms like this on one single note isn't the most exciting thing, but being able to count with a steady internal pulse is so important. It's just as important as playing the right notes. The last thing we'll talk about before learning our piece is accidentals or flats and sharps. When placed before a note on the staff, it raises or lowers it by a half step. A half step goes to the very next note, including the black keys. Usually, a half step goes from a white to a black key or a black to a white key. So half step, but not always. It can also go from white key to white key when there's not a black key in between those two. A sharp raises the note a half step. So if I play C, C sharp is right here. and a flat lowers at a half step. So C, C flat, half step lower is right here. And E, E flat is a half step lower. So there it's a black key. If you find random sheet music online, you might see accidentals written at the beginning of every line. This is called the key signature, and we're not going to get into that really today, but if it's going well, if this whole crash course is going well for you so far, and you feel like you can handle new information, I'll link a video about key signatures in the description. All right, we're going to learn this tune, New Britain, which was popularized by the lyrics to Amazing Grace. As we look this over, we'll have to learn a few additional things, so stick with me. To review, we have the grand staff with the treble clef, bass clef, and time signature of 3/4 time. Remember, the top number is the most important element right now, and that tells us that there are 3 beats in each measure. Measures are separated by bar lines, so measure 1, measure 2, and so on. Notice there's a note all by itself at the very beginning. This is very important. This is not a full measure, but it's called a pickup note. This leads us into the first measure, so we count 3, 1 into the first measure. 3, 1. The pickup note is stolen from the final measure. See? There's only 2 beats right here, and that's why the very beginning starts on beat 3. Then we see this MF, which stands for mezzo forte and means to play medium loud. There's also P, piano, soft, mezzo piano, and forte. Finally, at the end of pieces, you'll always see an ending bar, which is 2 lines, 1 thick, 1 thin. To play with a proper hand position, rest each hand over your knees. This is the shape you want, and play the keys on the fleshy part of your fingertips. Let's look at the left hand first. Remember that the bass clef dots surround the F line, the bass F line. So here's F, and then we're going to step up to the space note, and there's G. Okay, so G is our top note. Then we go backwards or down in that line space manner. So G is at the top, then F, E, D, and C. So it's C on the bottom and G at the top. And when the notes are stacked vertically like this, it means they're played together. For now, I'm going to make it easier on you. There are only 3 different positions for the left hand, and they're all played with fingers 1 and 5. So we just learned the first position, which is C and G. You can find in your score all the places that are exactly like that for the left hand. The second position is easy because we already know bass F and we know middle C. So we went from C, G, to F, middle C. And finally, we have this low position. Taking it from the F line, we go down by step to reach our top note. So F, E, and D. Then keep going. So D is our top. Now we're just going to step down to C, B, A, and G. So G and D played together. And we've got some curved lines connecting these notes. This is called a tie. Ties connect notes that are on the same line or space. And when you see these, you're not going to play the second notes again. You're just going to hold them for their value. So you'll hold the G and the D for a total of 6 beats. And there's another tie at the very end that you'll hold for 5. The right hand begins on our G line, our treble G line. And then it says finger 1, so that's the thumb. Now look at my hand position. I'm purposely skipping over B. So I'm going to play the right hand through for you, but if you're serious about really learning how to read music, I recommend that you first work it out on your own and then come back to double check your work by watching my hands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 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 1 and watch here. 2. taking it back. I play finger 5. This was my starting position. Now I have to kind of smush my hand a little bit so that I can put finger 2 on this D, which puts me in a new position. So you might have to focus in just on that little part to get the hang of it. 1 and 2 and 3 and tied, 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, move, 3 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and tied and 2 and. In line 3, you might have been wondering what in the world that rhythm was. We have a dotted quarter note. A dotted quarter note gets 1.5 beats. So in this case, it's 1 and 2. And then the and, or the second half of beat 2, is this 8th note all by itself with the flag. And. So 1 and 2 and. To end that measure, it's just 2 8th notes, 3 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and. And then you have that exact same rhythm, 2 measures from that spot. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. As you continue learning how to read notes, you'll discover little tips and tricks along the way to make it easier and faster. But for now, it might be a slow process for you. So hands together. That was a ton of new information squeezed into just 2 days. We didn't get into every single detail about reading music, but it's a really great start. If you'd like to continue your piano learning journey, check out the membership at pianoroadmap.com. This is a perfect membership for complete beginners and early intermediate pianists. So I hope you were able to digest all the information from these past 2 days. Don't feel bad if you don't get it right away. It's not necessarily hard, but it is a lot of information. Pop your questions down below, and I'll see you next time.